Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us today on Business Spotlight series. Today, we have Jonathan Kennett, founder and managing director of the Health Hub QV, a very interesting business that provides complementary health services that would be of service to the wider community. So, Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and for how long you've been doing it?
So the Health Hub has been open just over a year now. It took about 3 years to pull it together. I had to find some help to run the facility. We had to strip out and rebuild in an old-fashioned building, which was an expensive thing to do. But we now have 5 or 6 consulting areas or treatment rooms, and a very nice studio, which is good for people doing yoga and Pilates and dance classes and things like that. The hub started with four people, myself and 2 osteopaths and someone who is a massage therapist, all interested in alternative therapies. From my own point of view, I had some health issues, and so I was busy resolving my own health issues, and I discovered some therapies that where I should explain, I have an engineering background, so I looked into various things, and I started off with oxygen therapy, which was exercise with oxygen, which was just amazing. I'd had a heart problem, and fortunately, it was only a milder issue that I had, but I found that the oxygen was amazing and got everything working again, and very amazed. And I was surprised that it wasn't generally available because it helped me. And then some friends heard about the fact I had this in my garage, and they would come along. And one amazing experience I had with a 74-year-old father of a friend of mine who'd had 2 triple bypasses over a 35-year period, and he was again having trouble with pain when he exercised, just walking down the pavement. He was very tired, he was very pale, and so we got him on the oxygen, and it's only the sessions are only 20 minutes long, and he managed to go for 15 minutes on a rowing machine without any chest pain at all, having had angina, chest pains from doing almost nothing. Amazing. And he came out of it pink, and 3 sessions later, I'm not kidding you, he had his life back. He didn't have to sleep in the afternoon. And anyway, that's a very simple story, but it made me think, this is so powerful, we need to get this out.
Yes, what a great testimonial that
yeah. So that was my excitement and motivation, and then I discovered red light therapy, and I invested in a full-length red light unit from Theralite, an American company. Then I discovered pulsed electromagnetic therapy, which is acronym is PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequency therapy. Fantastic for helping healing, for dealing with inflammation and things like that. It's almost sometimes almost miraculous how quickly you can experience changes and removal of pain. So I became very interested in helping people with chronic pain, and oftentimes this is what was the basis of setting up the hub. So oftentimes, people that do come to the hub have been through all the options on painkillers, and found that they've got one thing for their pain, that didn't work, try another thing, well, that stopped working, let's try another thing. Oh, by the way, my stomach is very uncomfortable, oh, we'll take some more tablets. And so it goes on, and so all of our therapies are drug-free and have no side effects. So I'm an engineer, Javier, so I'm not a doctor, but what one needs to have is a basic understanding of physiology, which I have because I've been reading up for many years. But also, once you know where someone has an ouch, you have to know where to direct these energy therapies to the area. And if you know how the energy therapies work and why they work, then you can do a lot of good.
That sounds too good to be true, you know?
Well, I hope I hope I'm not overselling anything here. It is very exciting. We are able to help people with some quite difficult conditions like fibromyalgia, which is notoriously challenging to bring about changes. And a lot of people are suffering now from long COVID symptoms. So
Yes.
the oxygen therapies are helping people with their breathing and their heart rates and their energy levels. And we have people who have brain fog, and they've come away saying, my brain fog's gone. I can walk out again with the dog and things. So these are very, very satisfying and totally different beneficial feelings that
Yes.
one has being able to help someone that's in suffering.
Do you deal with cases where they haven't got a body pain, but it could be more, anxiety, stress? Do you deal with that?
Absolutely. And so usually, as you know, with business, the issue is never the issue. And it's never just one thing, is it? So, somebody comes in with, with I don't know, their mood is down and things. We find that the special red light therapy is very good for lifting mood because it puts energy into the body at a cellular level. And that's exactly what the magnetic pulse therapy does as well. It helps the mitochondria work better. So if your cells are all working better, then your mood lifts, and it helps people who are not sleeping very well and things. So and of course sometimes people are feeling a bit jaded because they're not sleeping, and when you dig down a little, you find that, well, there's another reason why they're not sleeping, and it could be stress, or simply they're eating big meals too late at night. So there's a holistic approach to trying to get to the bottom of people's symptoms, and usually that takes time, and it's time that people don't get with their GP. The GPs don't have time to delve into details, and everyone's different, Javier. So no one investigation, everyone is their own test lab. Even the doctors trying tablets on you say, oh well, we'll change that if that didn't agree with you. They're doing a trial and error approach in many cases, which perhaps they wouldn't freely admit to, but that's basically what happens.
Yes. And Jonathan, so do you help to diagnose the root of the problem and then you fix it? I mean, it will depend because we are all different, but typically, how long will it take, or how many sessions would somebody need to fix that issue, or you need to be receiving sessions for the rest of your life? How does that work?
Well, the hope is that when we do help people over their symptoms, sometimes I think diagnosis is perhaps a little an over strong description, but we do need to know the source of where people's pain is and things, and so most people would have anything between 3 to 5 sessions of something, and usually what happens is there's results fairly quickly, sometimes amazingly after just one session, but it could be if you've got chronic symptoms, then you're going to need to keep visiting for some people have done sort of 6 weeks or something like that, where they come twice a week, and each week the relief they get goes on a bit longer until their symptoms finally subside. An example of that is somebody who was a type 1 diabetic and had developed a very nasty ulcer on the bottom of their foot, which they couldn't feel, and it was several centimeters across, and they had read that oxygen therapy would be very helpful, and so we have a single occupancy hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and this particular person came constantly for I don't know, 3-4 times a week for about 4 weeks and had a miraculous healing, because once you get oxygen into the equation, all sorts of things start to work again.
Yes. Wow. Now, moving to the business side of things, because many business owners, entrepreneurs will be watching this recording, and people who are just started a business. So what is your biggest learning since you've been a business owner, Jonathan?
Well, I'm thinking in the context of people who are thinking of starting a business. I think the thing that I've observed over years is that sometimes people imagine there are barriers to starting a business that are not real. They're imagined. And what's that acronym for fear? F-E-A-R, you know, false expectations appearing real. And so they think they need a lot of cash, and they try to get a lot of funding, and they decide they want to start with, you know, fancy offices, and they want to, you know, hire people and do things, and it's a very quick way to run out of money. And I think there's usually a way, if you strip out all the unnecessary things, all the bling that goes with success. If you strip that out and start in a small way, I think you can grow organically. And then even if you've had limited business experience, if you can do something that's manageable in a small way and learn from that, then you will never grow a top-heavy business, because you'll be very in touch with it.
Not overloading you with overheads too early in the journey.
Exactly. Yeah. But some of I mean, to look at a bigger scale, some startup companies, you know, they have a good idea and they go and get venture capital, and they take a lease on some fancy offices, and they buy some nice office furniture, and
yes,
you know, the managing director has a nice Mercedes, and you know, so it goes on. So and then, you know, a couple of years go by, and the wonder project hasn't quite, is always a little bit over the horizon, and they run out of cash, and you know, it's sad.
Yes. I always say that growth sucks cash.
Yeah.
Faster than you think.
Yeah. When my engineering business, previous life of mine, when it started to be really successful, we knew we were making good profits, but we didn't see it in the bank for many months until it finally fed through. And as you say, growth sucks profits.
Yes, yeah, that's the cash gap. You make a profit, but the cash hasn't arrived yet. Definitely.
Yeah.
Great insight, Jonathan. What are your aspirations for the business for the next 5 years?
Well, I certainly would like to enlarge the special skills we have here. We have osteopathy here. We have several types of massage therapy. We have people doing very interesting physiotherapy with biomechanics. We have people that do yoga and Pilates, which all part of the bigger picture of staying healthy. So, and I'm in the process of putting feelers out for people who have very special skills, who may not be able to actually practice here, but we want to be a connection point for people who are looking for special things. They might be looking for something we don't have in-house. They might want a psychotherapist. They might want a hypnotherapist. And everything. We've actually got registered here for health insurance, Health Improvement Scotland, HIS, which is a requirement if you want to do any work with blood work, and if you want to have any NHS staff who might work part-time with you. And it's an expensive, time-consuming process. But for example, some people whose diet is questionable, or even if it isn't, may want supplements. And so how do you know what supplements you should take unless you know if you're short of something? And the way to find that out is to do blood tests. So we now have the facility to do a wide range of blood tests for people. And if you know, for example, you're short of magnesium, then we can also help with intravenous infusions, which is a straightforward process and a very immediate way. A lot of people with low energy are short of B12, and a 20-minute infusion or so would almost immediately give people a big boost. So we hope to expand the business to include more professionals coming here, maybe part-time GPs, maybe part-time consultants, and we have nice facilities here for people to come and meet them.
Jonathan, that's very, very interesting. Wow. And you've been running the business for now 2 years?
Yes, we actually opened beginning of a year ago in January. So
Okay.
we've lots to grow into. And I had buying the equipment is expensive, and it's great, but the equipment is only a small part of the story unless you have people who are there to work, not just to work the equipment, but to understand the people side. And
Brilliant. So Jonathan, so you're based in Paisley. Are you thinking in time to come, as the business grows, to branch out?
I had the idea originally that it could be that this business could form the basis of a franchise, and I'm now thinking that's a bit more challenging because, so I say, the people side of the business, we don't employ our practitioners here; they're self-employed. So we facilitate, and so we have equipment, we have rooms where there could be rentals and things to be rented out, and so it's about finding the right practitioners in any one location, and
Yes.
it's definitely a local geographical area.
Yes. Okay. Franchising a business. What is the vision of the business? What drives you? What's the vision of the business? What is the why of your business?
Well, I think the why is just that I would like to have a communal resource, an affordable communal resource for people who have tried all the mainstream solutions and had to come up with different ideas. And often those are the kind of people who find us. So there's a massive satisfaction. All of the people I know in the wellness business and health practices, the satisfaction they get at the end of the day, having helped people get their lives back, is enormous. And to think that you could be part of that help is profoundly energizing.
Definitely. That resembles a bit what I do, and my vision is to help 1,000 businesses this decade.
Yes.
And I totally, when you say, resonates with me big time, definitely.
Good.
Wow.
Good. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, what are the big challenges running a business in your industry?
Well, I think recruitment is a challenge for everybody right now, almost across all fields. There's a lot of financial turbulence out there. So recruitment is definitely a challenge. People coming under one roof, but who are not employed as such, have their own way of operating, and so we have to work with that, and we have to find ways, ways where we can unify things. Like we have a booking system that any practitioner that comes here can partake in, and they have online access to it. And these are sort of things we provide. But these are challenges, just getting systems in bringing people who may not have worked in a corporate environment as such, getting them the best service we can.
Okay, good. What would you say to anyone thinking of going into business for the first time?
Well, don't do anything, don't get into business about something you're not passionate about, because otherwise it's going to feel like bloody hard work, you know. Yeah, well, it is, and it is hard work, but you know, if it's not necessarily a hobby, but it's something that really interests you, that helps.
Yeah.
I would do a lot of due diligence and you know, check out. You've got a lot at your disposal now that you know, back in the 80s was not available. You've got massive power of Google. You can find out trends. You can find out about your competitors, would-be competitors. You can assess the size of markets, the opportunity. You can find out so much.
Yeah.
And to some extent, that could put one off. But I think you know, there are some fields of activity where there's lots and lots of people doing the same thing, and you think, well, there's no point in doing that. But actually, if something is in hot demand, then arguably there's still a space for somebody. And so you look for either the geographic, if it's yeah, it's different with every product, of course. And
Yeah.
I'd look for something that was, you know, didn't cost a fortune to get into, and allowed you to start in a small way. And you know, I got going selling high-tech industrial consumables. Was my very first entree, and so it was just me, and I would go around and find a customer in the electronics industry, and I maybe only got, you know, 2 more customers each month, but it was a monthly purchase. So it was like putting bricks on a wall, and gradually the regular income built up, and I had very low overhead, and I actually,
Yes.
my best business time, I was proud of the fact I got up to a turnover back in 1980, early 80s, got into a turnover of 600K with just a personal letterbox, and we were doing export to America and to Scandinavia and things, and it was quite extraordinary. Of course, I did have some help then, but we were buying material from America, which we were then selling back to America.
Yes.
We're kind of crazy, but you know, it all worked because it was needed.
Yeah, Jonathan, from this brief interview, I can sense you've got a very interesting life behind you.
Yeah, it's all in the rear view mirror, Javier.
Definitely. Now, if what would you advise to your 18-year-old self?
I think not to be intimidated. Well, one of the best books I ever read in my early business life was called Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. It's pretty well known, I think, in business circles, and the title's a bit misleading. It's all about not being intimidated by, you know, commercial situations and people who are set up seemingly in powerful positions. These are lawyers and accountants and things, and you know, everyone is, you know. Anyway, I would just say, you know, speak your truth and be take your time. You know, if you get into an area of business that you enjoy in your early 20s, let's say you've got a college qualification or something, and you can learn that business at someone else's expense, and because, you know, let's face it, when you come out of university, even, you know, you're not the finished article. This is just the beginning. It's a springboard, isn't it?
Right.
So I would say be prepared to learn, be prepared to be very curious, ask lots of questions, don't feel stupid asking questions. And, you know, sometime in your mid-20s to late 20s, if you are seriously thinking of maybe working on your own, that's not a bad time if you've got a chosen field. If you happen to be lucky and you invent a widget and you're only 19 and you can make 1 billion widgets and sell them, well, go for it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. That's great, Jonathan. Very inspirational. Do you have any news or offers or that you want to share with the people who will be watching this recording?
Well, I'd just like to give an open invitation to anyone that's at all curious about our therapies, to please look at our website, which I hope you will feature, but also give us a call, and anyone that wants to visit. We're in the iconic Quarriers Village, which is west of Glasgow, about 20 minutes drive. It's a Victorian garden village, so it's very spacious, and we occupy an old sandstone building, which is, as I explained, being fully gutted and modernized. But it's a very tranquil environment out here. It's a nice place to come and see. So I'd certainly invite anyone to come, and especially if people have any issues with their health, which they would like either some suggestions or anything, please get in touch.
Brilliant. Well, Jonathan, it has been a real pleasure to have you join us today at Business Spotlight, and for sharing your experience, wisdom, and candor with us today. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for having me on your program.